This guy back here playing video games, the same one you see looking at a 3-month-old and an 18-month-old with an erection. Actually, after he got caught having affairs and, doing all the stuff he was doing, his lying, his doping, and all that stuff, not only did he run around trying to convince people that I was the one guilty of it, he started trying to convince people that I fucked his cousins that I never touched. I never touched Eric Trimble, never touched Nick West, and Nick, you know that, you can see this. But he was trying to touch up on my cousin Jill when she was only 13 years old. Hell, that's just when he got caught. She was only 12 when we got married. This guy over here had a kid here. She was not even out of high school yet. What's he do? He tells these attorneys, cops, all this stuff, what a little dopehead she is and all this shit, and then comes back here and starts telling her to not listen to her aunt. Just to trust him. Yada, yada, yada. And then trying to get her alone in the bathroom. And I don't owe you money, Shan. So quit making making money stuff, because I'm not slandering you. I'm telling the facts. He has pulled every tactic he can think of, including having doctors assault me and everything else. Owensboro Health gave me 4 injections, didn't document 2 of them, which is illegal in the state of Kentucky. And no, I don't believe in vampires, werewolves. Don't believe in actual magic. Don't believe in any of that stuff. But he was trying to make people believe I did because he had a disability scheme going on. He wanted people to think I was delusional. The fact is, my father's mother was a coddle. A lot of y'all know my father personally. He's passed away now. But this asshole back here was making racist comments, wanting to know if I wanted my passport and all that stuff, because the particular family line of my father's mother had Native American on it. He never knew my grandmother Phyllis at all. Stop with your dumb shit, Shan. This guy back here has a long violent criminal record, and his criminal record in 2004, where he was grinning in his mugshot and all that stuff, everyone might as well get over it, because what he was actually called there for was trying to run his wife and children off the road, and when the police showed up, he was trying to beat his way into my vehicle. I had one child in kindergarten, and the other child wasn't even old enough to go to kindergarten yet. It's not as if he's some hero, some, rebel legend. While a lot of things has been the exact opposite of what I would choose to do as a paralegal, the fact is my husband had certain people in on it with him to try to sort of ruin my legal career before I could even get it started. And it was intentional. How many of y'all have ever been sexually assaulted and then the cops ask you if you have somewhere to safe to go instead of making the assaultant leave your home? Because that's what happened to me. No matter what this guy does, he is allowed to get away with it. And no, Shannon wouldn't enjoy you ever screwing around with the dog. There's been this thing that he had done to me. And from what I understand, a lot of people where I live already know about it. It's just everybody's not been telling me. Afraid to tell me directly. But he made agreements to experimental treatments, to clinical trials and all this stuff back in 2016. He tried to switch off everything he did on me. I still have the paperwork where he did it. He started trying to have people accuse me of being a prostitute and everything else. He'd run around and spread rumors, and then he would tell people that I was the one that said it. Now, keep in mind, this whole time, he was trying to keep me from finding out what he was doing. He is not some guy making a stand for men. He is a guy that tried to make himself seem like a hero for putting his wife through absolute hell. He would get into it with some guy. He would run and tell me this guy was so awful to him and stuff. He'd want me to fight that guy for him. Mr. 5'9" Marine back there playing video games. Keep in mind, he was kicked out of the Marines too. He would run and tell that guy something completely different and be like, get in on it with her, nail her with it and all this shit. And then he would try to create this conflicting situation where he was trying to create situations to use against me later. But he didn't want anyone actually speaking to me. Because if someone had asked me the whole story of what was going on, he would have been in deep shit. Shan, whatever you're trying to imply, you might as well get over it. This guy back here tried to tell me that my cousin asked him to leave his wife for her. But yet when we both tried to confront him with it, he tried to run away. He tried to make everyone think it was about music trivia and all that. Since I've got love notes that, he wrote, the post-it note you see is what he actually wrote to my 13-year-old cousin right in front of me while I was pregnant with our first daughter. So he writes that love letter on a post-it note, gives it to she was 12 she was 13 and 14 years old. Gives it to her right in front of me and then tries to convince everyone that I was the one guilty of it. She knows damn well I wasn't because I've got the notebooks all the way back from then where him and her were writing in them. Although I tried to tell people what was going on, every time I try to tell anyone what he's doing, he tries to say he's so in love with his wife and will try to get someone to put me in a mental ward. I'm not the first person he's done these kind of things to. And he had it in his head. Some EMTs and stuff around here got it in his head that he could force me to say that I had sex with whoever he wanted me to say I had sex with. Which is actually illegal. It is absolutely a crime for a healthcare facility. I've never even so much as had a venereal disease. I've never even had a yeast infection. It is a crime for a healthcare facility to do any sort of coercive methods to force me to say what this guy over here wants. See, the fact is, it's on record for a long time that he is an illicit drug abuser. He's got a long violent criminal history. And he ran from doctor's office to doctor's office and tried to make these doctors believe that everything he was guilty of, he tried to make them believe that I was the one guilty of it. I have the original document, so I can prove otherwise. But this guy back here ran from doctor's office to doctor's office. As a matter of fact, between 2016 and 2017, I didn't know it, but he was running to different people and trying to convince them that I was suicidal. In this time frame, and keep in mind, I didn't find out he was doing it until later. In this time frame, he was trying to convince people that I was suicidal. He tried to convince me that he drove between two semis down a levee that I know that there's no way a full-size truck could drive between two semis down that levee. So I knew he was lying when he said it. And he would talk about driving head first into oncoming traffic and all that stuff. Well, I don't have those sort of thoughts. But he was running to my doctor and other people and trying to convince them that I was the one saying those things. Then my brake lines were cut. My lug nuts were loosened. My car caught on fire. The stabilizer bar was unhooked from the driver's side. While he was telling everyone he was going to live off life insurance. Oh, and someone also tried to hit me. He tried to tell me that he exchanged a motor and all this stuff. And the thing of it was, I worked as a mechanic, went to the motor, and what he said he paid someone $900 out for, I looked and it was the same motor and same truck. And while I had to walk home from Livermore, Kentucky to Allen, Kentucky, someone actually tried to hit me on the road. Now, see, there used to be this guy. His name was James Pickard. They called him Pickle. Didn't know the guy really well, but he was married to one of my first cousins. He was the son-in-law of one of my aunts, my paternal aunts. He starts talking about him all the time. And it says he was hit by someone at Advanced Drainage Systems, and they killed him, and yada yada. So after he did a few other things, I thought, man, that's a little weird. So, I go talk to one of my aunts and said, hey, my cousin says, did he really get hit and killed outside ADS on 431? Highway 431? She said, yeah. I said, one of those guys there hit him, killed him? She said, yeah. And I said, what year was that? And she said, 2013. Well, look it up. But obituary, 2013. Someone tried to hit me in 2017. After this guy back here was talking about it all the time. Shannon, no one's ever held you at gunpoint and raped you. Some other girl told me that she was held at gunpoint and raped. And then anything that he thinks makes him look like a victim, he has tried to convince other people it's what was done to him. Because the way he figures, these doctors and cops and all this shit's not going to find out any differently if he tries to keep everyone from speaking to each other. So he does this game of one-offing it. He'll run to a doctor's office and tell them a bunch of shit, or give some sob story to some deputy or some stuff like that. He tells what he believes is the right people to tell, what he wants them to believe. And instead of verifying the facts, they just believed him. Nope, Shannon, I didn't owe it to you to suck your dick. Just because you sexually assaulted me and tried to make me suck your dick doesn't mean I owe it to you. That was the night the cops refused to make him leave, when he kept punching me in my left boob and thinking he was going to make me do what he wanted. The cops wouldn't make him leave, so I said, look, you wouldn't make him leave. The choice y'all are making is, if he puts another hand on me and y'all come back in here and he's got a broken nose and 2 black eyes, that's his own damn fault. Because they'd already been told. Get him out of here. And as far as all the rumors you spread, Shan, get over yourself. This guy's tried to use the laws of gossip, trying to punish me as if him having affairs with children under the age of 16. And he's like, well, so-and-so said, this in front of you and someone else. Now, other people's already verified to him that I'm not the person guilty of it, but he tried to convince my doctor and other people that it was me guilty of it. Although the people that was actually there to hear what was said and see what was done and all that stuff told him it wasn't your wife. But they were just looking for reasons. So in this guy's mind, back here, for some reason, he thinks that, he really thinks that what he thinks matters more than anyone else's. But he thinks that if he can, punish me on behalf of all the women he ever cheated with and all this stuff where everybody's like, why don't you just leave? I've lived in Fox Hollow all my life. I was brought here after I was born. Why should I have to give up my home because some guy wanted to have extramarital affairs with children? Because this guy back here thought he could use abuse as a way to get me to force me out of my house. These guys, all these people trying to guilt me, like that should be his house. That should be his. Why should it be? I raised my children here. I didn't run off and abandon them for weeks at a time with no food, no vehicle, or anything else to go party, do meth, and all the shit that he did. I never lost custody of my children, not one time. So instead of him being like, you think you're perfect. No, I made the right choices, and he doesn't have the right to punish me for that. He even ran around trying to convince everyone that I'm retarded. I had a 3.37 GPA before I even finished college. And pictures of you licking burgers like you're giving oral sex standing next to your own daughter doesn't make me guilty of anything, Shan. Yeah, this guy also told me that I was going to end up dead if I told on him. So there seems to be this thing around here where if anyone talks too much, ends up being too much trouble by trying to say, we don't like kids being molested around here. We don't like guys like Shannon being able to get away with whatever he wants and all this stuff. Then suddenly that's a problem around here. So he told me I'd end up dead if I pursued saying anything about the things he was caught doing. And that's something else. On a completely different subject. Well, he was trying to make it all about music trivia and all that stuff. That was one of his distraction methods. If this guy really wanted a divorce, he would have filed for one, but he's trying to find a way to make his wife do it for him. Because he's a lazy fuck, and his daddy even said so. Anyway, well, he tried to make it all about music trivia. He was trying to make it about these mundane, well, not really mundane things. None of us want to live without music, but them, well, he was trying to make it about what he wanted to try to make it seem as if he was just witty and getting one over on his wife. See, I've been a fan of Lightfoot since I was going to powwows when I was still a kid. First powwow this asshole ever went to is one I had him go to with me. While he was making comments, calling me a honky and asking me if I wanted my passport and all kinds of stuff like that, I actually saw where these deputies and all this stuff was giving him sympathy, and they were doing what it took as if this community was standing up for Shannon. Because he started trying to make people believe that I made him suicidal. Every time he gets caught cheating on me, he claims that he's suicidal. If he was that worried about losing his wife, it would actually make him suicidal. He wouldn't have tried to cheat in the first place. Especially a lot more times than once. I'm the smartest girl in the world, but I figured that one out. Of course, Shannon wants me to feel like I'm the stupidest person. I just don't deserve him. And why everybody like, why this drama? I'm going to tell y'all why this drama. Because when someone actually does like this guy over here did, when people start doing things like he did, and people allow him to get away with it, that leads to the next victim and the next victim. This wall of silence actually helps him continue that cycle of having affairs with minors. It helps him continue the cycle of trying to isolate whatever woman he's with while he does whatever he wants. And that's something y'all need to realize doesn't make sense. Why did he always try to isolate me and keep everyone from speaking to me? Start all kinds of bullshit to make everyone think that, you know, I was stupid and I was mentally retarded, because I'm most definitely not mentally retarded. If I was such a terrible wife, why did Shannon not want people to know what he was saying about me? Or, you know, he didn't want me to know what he was telling other people. Why did he not want other people to have any actual conversation with me, or for me to have any actual friendships or anything else? I was even told I wasn't allowed to have friends at the house. If I did ever have anyone over, then he would run to the sheriff's office and everyone else and try to convince them that I was screwing them. Fuck you, Shan. Your mama took all your guns away years ago, and so did your daddy, especially when you sat outside the Pulaski County Mall waiting for those 3 majors guys that you were planning on killing. Go fuck yourself. I didn't go to Pulaski County School. He has tried to create a bunch of situations trying to get all my rights taken away just out of absolute spite. Now keep in mind while I'm telling y'all this, y'all keep in mind, I've never had a violent criminal charge. I've never had any drug convictions. You know, the worst charge I've had is not stopping at a stop sign completely. That's the very worst thing that they've ever, you know, actually convicted me of, is not stopping at a stop sign completely. Don't do that. This fucker got me charged once. And I turned around and looked at those cops and said, I want a drug test now on the spot. Well, he will tell y'all he is this awesome guy and all this stuff. The fact is, everything he has done for many years now, he tries to get his wife punished for. I could actually show y'all medical records where he was trying to have a bunch of people harass me. I finally ended up walking into the sheriff's office, the county attorney's office, and other medical places that he was spreading all these rumors, places I wasn't even a patient, where he was trying to form this network of harassment and said, hey, I've got all my records right here. Do y'all want to see them? So what for? I said all these damn rumors he's spreading has caused me all kinds of trouble. I was the only person asked, period. I went to go apply for a job at a factory, and they wanted to hair follicle test me. Now everyone else took your analysis test. I thought, that's fucked up, but I can get back to that later. So the night before I was supposed to be there, he asked someone to take my fucking car apart. Because it was his big scheme to try to blame a bunch of stuff on me. Because see, my husband and some of his friends have this thing when they get mad at women here in this area. They do something to get that woman in trouble, and then they run around and say, oh, she's in a closet dopehead. She's this, she's that, blah, blah, blah. And then those women will end up with, all kinds of soul services all over them and all kinds of bad things happening to them and yada, yada, yada. And that's sort of their plan. And the thing of it was, that's what he tried to do to me, although my children are adults. But I've known my husband and some of his friends to do those type of things to other women.